If anyone had asked me what happiness looked like, I would have described that evening in my father's compound. The air smelled of roasted goat meat and palm wine. Women sang in the backyard while plaiting hair and tying jelly. Children darted between chairs, their laughter piercing the night like little fireworks. Everywhere I turned, there were faces. Family, friends, even distant relatives I hadn't seen in years. All gathered because of me. It was my wedding eve, my big day. The day I had dreamt of since I was a girl, dressing her dolls in white lace wrappers and calling them brides. I remember standing by the balcony of my father's upstairs, watching the compound sparkle with colored lights, my heart drumming with a sweet mixture of fear and joy. In less than 24 hours, I would become Mrs. Obinna Okafor, wife to one of the most successful businessmen in Anambra State. Everyone said I was blessed, beauty, brains, career, and now the kind of husband most women prayed for at midnight vigils. And truthfully, I believed them. I believed my story was unfolding exactly as it should. Obinna had been my dream come true. Tall, confident, and kind in ways that made me trust him deeply. He was also generous with my family, paying for my younger brother's university tuition and sponsoring the roofing of the parish church. Even my father, who didn't trust easily, often said, "Chika, you've chosen well." That night, I was too excited to sleep. I kept pacing my room, checking and rechecking my wedding gown, the coral beads laid out for the traditional ceremony, the new heels I had ordered from Lagos. At some point, I decided to go in search of my veil, which I hadn't seen since afternoon. My cousin Adaeze had been helping me arrange my things, so I thought it might be in her room. I didn't knock before I entered. After all, it was just Adaeze's. She was sitting on the bed, her back to me, holding something in her hands. When she turned, startled, I saw the photograph. A baby boy, chubby cheeks and curly hair, balanced on Obinna's lap. Obinna himself was smiling wide in that picture, holding the child as though he belonged to him. "Adaeze, what's this?" I asked, laughing nervously, because what else could I do? But instead of answering, she froze. Then her lips trembled, her eyes filled with tears, and she whispered words that would crack open my perfect world. "Chika, I need to tell you something. That's Obinna's son." My body went cold. The walls of the room seemed to shift. Somewhere outside, the drummers beat their talking drums, announcing joy. Inside me, however, everything fell silent. For a long time, I just stood there, staring at Adaeze as if she had spoken in a language I didn't understand. My cousin, my closest friend, the one who had been by my side through every fitting, every rehearsal, every single step of this wedding journey, was telling me that the man I was about to marry had a child with her. At first, I thought it was some sick joke. "Adaeze, this isn't funny," I said, my voice sharp, my chest tightening. But instead of laughing or explaining, she collapsed on her knees before me, the photograph slipping from her hands to the floor. "Chika, please forgive me," she sobbed, clutching at my gown. "It happened before you and Obinna became serious. I was in a bad place, he helped me, and one night, it just happened. I didn't mean to betray you." Her words felt like sharp stones being hurled at my chest. I wanted to scream, but my throat was dry. My mind kept repeating the same line, "Obinna has a child with my cousin." I picked up the photograph again, staring at it, as though if I looked hard enough, I would see evidence that she was lying. But the boy's eyes? They were Obinna's eyes, the same deep, knowing eyes that once made me feel safe. "You mean to tell me," I finally said, my voice shaking, "that while I've been dreaming of tomorrow, preparing for the happiest day of my life, you've been hiding his child under my nose?" Adaeze cried harder, her body trembling. "Chika, I didn't want to destroy your happiness. I begged him to tell you himself, but he said he would at the right time. Please, don't cancel the wedding. Everyone is here. Don't disgrace the family because of me." That word, disgrace, rang in my ears like a curse. Even in this moment, with my heart shattering, she was worried about shame, about the whispers, about what people would say. I left her there, kneeling, and stormed into my room. My hands shook so badly I could barely lock the door. I dialed Obinna's number, my heart thumping in my chest, my breath coming fast. He picked on the second ring, his voice calm, almost cheerful. "My queen, are you trying to give me cold feet calling this late?" But when I spoke, my voice was ice. "Obinna, where is your son?" There was silence on the line. A silence that told me more truth than any words ever could. And in that silence, I knew my tomorrow would not be what I had dreamt it to be. Obinna came to the house that night. I was sitting on the edge of my bed when I heard the knock. Firm, deliberate, the kind that said he would not leave until I opened. Against my better judgment, I let him in. He closed the door quietly behind him, and for a moment we just stared at each other. His face was calm, but his eyes betrayed him. Guilt was written all over his expression. "So it's true," I said, my voice low. Adaeze wasn't lying. Obinna exhaled heavily, rubbing his hand across his jaw. "Chika, please, let me explain." "Explain what? That you slept with my cousin? That you have a child with her? That tomorrow I'm supposed to walk into church pretending none of this ever happened?" He stepped closer, reaching for my hand, but I pulled back. "It was before us," he said, his voice firm, almost rehearsed. "Yes, I made a mistake. Yes, a child came from it. But Chika, that was my past. You are my future." I laughed, bitter and sharp. "Your past is my cousin. Your past is sitting under this same roof with my family. And you expect me to smile tomorrow as if everything is fine?" Before we could continue, my mother entered, her wrapper tied tightly around her waist, her face pale with worry. "Chika, my daughter," she said softly, "the elders are calling you." They had gathered in the sitting room, my father, 2 uncles, an aunt, and Obinna's parents. The air was heavy, thick with unspoken words. My uncle, the oldest, cleared his throat first. "Chika, we know what you have heard tonight. It is painful. It is shameful. But tomorrow, people from far and wide will gather. If you cancel this wedding now, our family name will be dragged in the mud. People will not say Obinna wronged you. They will say you failed to keep a man." His words stabbed at me. My own father could not meet my eyes. My mother squeezed her hands together, trembling. Obinna's mother, on the other hand, boldly declared, "Children are blessings. That boy is innocent. My son loves you, Chika. Don't let outsiders laugh at us." I felt cornered. Everyone was speaking of disgrace, of whispers, of honor, but no one was speaking of me, my pain, my humiliation, my future. I looked around that room, realizing something terrifying. To them, I was not Chika the woman. I was Chika the bride. A symbol, a duty, a tool to protect the family name. And for the first time in my life, I asked myself, what about my name? The morning of my wedding should have been a fairy tale. Instead, it felt like a funeral. The compound was alive with celebration. Drummers beating furiously, women ululating as they danced, the sweet smell of jollof rice and goat pepper soup drifting in the air. But inside me, everything was silent, hollow. I sat before the mirror as 2 women tied my jelle, their voices cheerful, telling me how beautiful I looked. I nodded when they spoke, smiled when they asked questions, but inside, my heart was heavy. All night I hadn't slept. I lay awake, replaying Adaeze's trembling confession, Obinna's cold silence on the phone, the elders' lectures about shame and family pride. At some point, I even tried convincing myself to go through with it. After all, I reasoned, many women marry men with children. Many women endure worse. Maybe love means forgiving, but each time I closed my eyes, I saw that photograph. The child on Obinna's lap, Adaeze's swollen eyes. Betrayal has a way of painting even the brightest future in gray. When my mother entered the room, she dismissed the women and closed the door. She stood behind me, her reflection in the mirror tired but steady. "My daughter," she whispered, "I know you are hurting. I know what they are asking of you feels like a knife to the heart. But think well. If you walk away today, people will never stop talking. They will mock you. They will mock us. Your father may not recover from the shame." Her words pierced me, not because they were harsh, but because they were true. In our society, a woman who rejects a man at the altar is seen as the problem, no matter the truth. "Mama," I said, tears spilling down my face, "what about me? Does no one care that my soul is breaking?" She sighed deeply, placing her hand on my shoulder. "Chika, sometimes marriage is not about happiness. Sometimes it is about survival." After she left, I sat staring at my own reflection. My eyes were red, my lips trembling, but I looked like a bride. A queen, dressed in white lace and coral beads. Yet behind that beauty was a woman trapped between 2 prisons. The prison of shame and the prison of betrayal. The drummers outside announced it was time. My aunt burst into the room, her face glowing with excitement. "Bride, it is time!" I rose slowly, my legs heavy, my heart pounding. I didn't know what I would say at the altar, but I knew one thing. Today, my decision would either bind me forever or set me free. The church was packed, every pew filled, every corner buzzing with whispers and excitement. Cameras flashed as I stepped in, the lace of my gown brushing against the polished tiles. The choir lifted their voices in harmony, and the entire hall turned to look at me, the bride. I walked slowly, each step feeling heavier than the last. My heart pounded, not with joy, but with fear. At the end of the aisle, Obinna stood tall, confident, his face beaming with the kind of smile that photographs are made for. You would never guess that a storm lay hidden behind his eyes. When I reached him, he took my hand, his grip firm, almost possessive. "You look perfect," he whispered, as though perfection was enough to erase betrayal. The priest began the ceremony, his voice deep, steady. I barely heard him. My mind was racing, my body trembling. Then came the question, the moment everything had been leading to. Do you, Chika, take Obinna to be your lawfully wedded husband, to love, honor, and cherish him till death do you part? A hush fell over the church. I felt hundreds of eyes on me, family, friends, strangers. My mother's stare was sharp, almost begging. My father's face was unreadable. A daisy, seated with her baby on her lap, avoided my gaze, her head bowed. I opened my mouth, but no words came. My throat tightened, my chest ached. And then, like a whisper from deep within, I heard my own voice. I cannot. Gasps erupted, murmurs spread like fire. The priest looked confused, trying to steady the chaos. But I raised my voice, clear and strong. I cannot vow before God to build a home on betrayal. I cannot stand here pretending love when what I feel is pain. I choose truth over shame. I choose peace over pretense. The hall exploded. Some clapped in shock, others shouted in anger. Elders rose to their feet, trying to silence the uproar. My mother covered her face with her wrapper. Obinna's jaw tightened, his smile collapsing into fury. But me? I felt light. For the first time in days, I could breathe. I turned, lifted my gown, and walked down the aisle, not as a bride, but as a woman who refused to be caged. Behind me, the whispers followed, but ahead of me was silence, freedom, and the unknown. That day, I lost a husband, maybe even my family's pride, but I found something greater, myself. And that, I now know, is a vow worth keeping.